Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health, the Wellness Forum Institute, and Make Americans Free Again. Couple of announcements. First of all, next week, or the week after next, I'm sorry, care and feeding of, and then it's all of your body parts from your brain to your toes, literally, how to take care of them, keep them until you die, avoid having body parts taken out or operated on. And that includes food, water, lifestyle habits, etc. That's a 2-night program. It's a Monday and a Tuesday, member, non-member price. And then the week after that is our 6-week boot camp. This is going to be a great opportunity for people to form good habits because there's something every day. So there will be for 6 weeks, every week a yoga class, every week a strength training class, every week a lecture, and every week a cooking class with recipes. So you will finish this. Just think about this. If you're a member for $195, you get 6 yoga classes, 6 workouts, 6 cooking classes with recipes, and 6 health lectures. We'll record it so you can watch it anytime. But hopefully you'll try to get to them every week so you really get in the habit of paying attention to health. Plus, you're going to love the programming that we put on. Greatly informative, delicious recipes, easy to make. You'll be all inspired, right? So I think that's something you might want to consider. And you can join and get the member price. That's an option too, because it's only $195 for each of these if you're a member. And you can use smoothie points. So those of you who love our breakfast, you can eat your way to the tuition for these programs as well. My email address is pampopper@wellnessforum.com if you want more information. Alrighty, so I have some news. All right, there's some growing recognition from government agency heads concerning the origin of COVID-19, which supports the claims we've been making in court since 2022 in our lawsuits against EcoHealth and Peter Daszak and Ralph Baric and the people involved in creating this monstrosity that caused this event that caused so much stress and death all over the world. So I talked about this in the last week's Make Americans Free Again newsletter. And by the way, if you want to get that, just go to makeamericansfreeagain.com and join, and you'll be on that newsletter list. It goes out every couple weeks or so. So I covered this in the newsletter last week. Tulsi Gabbard, who's head of the Department of National Intelligence, reported she's looking into the origin of COVID with the help of Jay Bhattacharya, who's head of NIH, and he has been on our side of this issue since the very beginning. All very, very good news. And she said that they would be releasing their findings very soon. And then last week, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary said, quote, "We're planning to change our health agencies for a generation or longer. Look at the NIH. When Jay Bhattacharya came in there, it was a mess. 14% of the grants were descriptive studies on health equity. And the NIH had just funded a lab that brewed up a virus that killed 20 million people worldwide." That is super. And why is it? Well, let's take a little victory lap. We made these claims in court 3 years ago when we were going against the grain and federal officials weren't saying this kind of stuff, but now they are. And it's very helpful in court. They add credibility to the claims that we have been making for a very long time. So you've heard me say what litigation's like watching paint dry, thankfully, because had many of these cases gone to trial 3 years ago, the likelihood of winning, we still could have. We have great lawyers, but it would have been a lot less because of these disclosures not having been made yet. So the world is coming around to our very forward and, as it turns out, correct way of thinking about this stuff. And we have a hearing coming up in September, and super happy that we have this type of assistance in making our points in court. So that brings me to item number 2. It's good that there are better people in charge of some of our federal agencies, but it's also important to recognize that we still have work to do. I mean, vaccinology, for lack of a different word for it, it's a religion. Hundreds of agencies and associations and millions of people are members of this cult. And I'll give you an example. The CDC has gratefully reduced the categories of humans who are recommended to get the useless and harmful COVID shot, but the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists is digging in its proverbial heels, insisting that everybody needs it, including pregnant women. They should get the shot. Quote, "The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, or ACOG, continues to recommend the use of updated COVID-19 vaccines in individuals contemplating pregnancy and in recently pregnant and lactating individuals. In other words, the scope of who should get the shot has expanded to women who are thinking of becoming pregnant and nursing mothers, right? Not just contemplating you should go get the shot. I will not call them individuals. They are women who get pregnant and lactate. The ACOG thinks that vaccination can take place in any trimester, but earlier is better, of course. Pregnant women also should receive the RSV and influenza vaccines too, even though they've never been tested properly in pregnant women because it's unethical to include them in trials. It's only ethical to recommend or even force them to get vaccines. The ACOG has decided not to take any federal funding and instead to partner with an agency or organization, I should say, called the Vaccine Integrity Project to, quote, develop immunization guidance. This group was started by public health experts, that's scary in and of itself, and received generous funding from Walmart heiress and vaccine advocate Christy Walton. The group is considering the idea of a new independent body, of course, independent, to evaluate safety and efficacy. And it's led by Michael Osterholm, a name that might be familiar to you because he was a vicious advocate for mass vaccination and mandates as he was COVID czar during the Biden administration. I think he was the lovely person who said that God gave him two arms, one for receiving the COVID vaccine and the other for the flu vaccine. Charming, charming fellow. So if this topic is interesting to you, and then I'll get to the conclusions from this, something I decided to do is we have a couple of vaccine-related courses online and an autism course online related to it. Autism is what we talked about in our workshop last night. You can take all three of those for $99 for members and $250 for non-members. It's like $1,500 worth of courses. So you can write to me about that. But let's go back to what does all this mean? The obstetricians and gynecologists of America joining with the American Academy of Pediatrics, just digging in their heels about we need more and more and more vaccines, and of course the COVID vaccine. Well, when I talked about the AAP's stance on this, the pediatricians, you can find a pediatrician, it's not easy, who's independent. You can also find a family doctor who will agree to see kids. Not easy to find, but you can find. You may have to drive for a couple of hours, but it can be worth it to protect your child. Now the same thing is going to be happening, I think, with OB-GYNs who are becoming just as militant. I've already had this happen with members of Wellness Forum where they've said, well, if you're not going to comply with what we tell you to do, then you can't come to this practice. Well, you can find family practice doctors to see children, but family practice doctors, even independent ones, they're not going to deliver babies. They're not going to supervise pregnancy. So this is going to be another barrier to getting care is these militant physician associations, which certainly don't represent the types of physicians I have as friends and who are good people who use good judgment. They don't like any of the stuff any more than you and I do. But these militant organizations that that dictate policy and whose members are working in medical centers near you are going to make it harder and harder for people to avoid mandates because they desperately need care. It's best to deliver a baby with somebody looking in on you every so often, and some babies should be delivered in the hospital. So the only way to solve this is we must gather people. I've been saying this for a long time, but the urgency of it is becoming a little bit different. It was we were gathering people in 2020 to counter the militant, ridiculous COVID restrictions. Now we're gathering people for a different reason, and it's to gather enough people that you could actually support independent doctors and an alternative pay system and that sort of thing. And so it's time to join. All right. I mean, join something. If somebody's got a better idea than mine, go join them. But my idea is we build these Make Americans Free Again groups to the size millions and millions of people, and we build Wellness Forum membership. Informed consumers spend less money on healthcare, and we can afford to flip the switch and have a private pay system, and then we can work around. It's the ultimate workaround, and that's what I would like to do with the last third of my life before I leave the planet. Is know that that has been accomplished because I think it's just super, super important for the future of our country and for our health. So I hope you see it my way. Of course, everybody hopes you see it their way, right? But I hope you see the wisdom in what I'm saying, that there's power in numbers. And what the government has is power by force. but it can be countered by power in numbers. And that's our assignment really, is to gather people in both organizations. And there's a lot of shared goals between the two organizations. So if you want to explore that further, my email address is pampopper@msn.com. Join Wellness Forum, join Make Americans Free Again. That's free. Donate to Make Americans Free Again. We don't have any expenses except for the lawyers, and we super appreciate when you help us pay for them. So I appreciate all the new donations that have been coming in lately. Helps a lot. Thank you. All right, well, that's it for today. As usual, I'll pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I will be back to you next week with more news. Have a wonderful Memorial Day holiday, by the way. We will be closed on Monday, but other than that, open regular hours. All right, thanks for watching.